Alright, hey guys, someone thought we actually needed an introduction to this time, so it's all you since you came up with it.
Welcome back to Open Win. This week we're talking about depression.
This could be triggering for some people, so if you continue watching, just be mindful. We are trying to do this to help people, but we don't want to trigger someone if that's the case. So, fair warning, there's some deep stuff talked about. So continue watching if you're good.
So I'm going to read the definition of depression. According to the Merriam-Webster, it is a mood disorder marked especially by sadness, inactivity, difficulty in thinking and concentration, a significant increase or decrease in appetite, and time spent sleeping, feelings of dejection, which means lowness of spirits, and hopelessness, and sometimes suicidal tendencies.
All right. So, very clinical definition over there. This one is mostly going to be her this time, and we'll get into a little bit more on why I feel this way, but yeah, it's mostly going to be her talking this week.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about kind of what it looks like for her, and she came with a notebook. It's got pages of things she wanted to go over, and when we were trying to organize for this video, literally before we did this video, because that's how we roll, we came up with the idea she's going to read it off of the notebook. Exactly how it is. There is no organization to it. There's not. But it's just how depression is. Like, there's no organization. There's no neat little bow that we can put on it for you. So I felt the best thing that she could do to explain it was read it the way she wrote it down. So she's going to read off the list. It is long. And if you have depression, you'll understand why she's reading it this way. And that's pretty much where we're going to go from there. We're not really going to go over triggers like we did in the last video. Something she said really made sense to me. With depression, it just kind of comes. There's really no trigger for it. For some people, yes, there can be like a huge death in the family, and that might be what triggers it for you. But if you have like clinical depression, there's no trigger. It's just going to come whenever it wants to come. So she's going to read off the list, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. So I spent a good hour last night trying to figure out what depression looked like for me, and it was tough just because when I'm in the moment of depression, I don't really think about what I'm feeling. I just kind of feel numb and empty, which is the first thing that I wrote down on the list. And then it I wrote on to say feeling exhausted, even when you haven't done anything, even just being mentally exhausted, just from thinking and being stuck in your head and being stuck in that moment for minutes to hours to days to weeks to months. Sometimes just breathing is hard. That's some days when I am feeling depressed. Just breathing to get through that day is kind of difficult, and if I can make it through that day, then I know that I can make it through just about anything, because some days it does feel that hard to breathe. I wrote that you just don't care anymore, and you just don't want to be you anymore. You can start pushing everyone away because you feel like you're a burden on them. Most people have depression alongside other mental illnesses such as anxiety, OCD, an eating disorder, so forth. A war inside your mind. You stop loving the things you once loved and enjoyed. You feel like you deserve to feel this way. Your mind tells you horrible things about yourself. You have mood swings, loss of appetite, or gain of appetite, which can result into binging. Feeling like you want to disappear. Feeling like you're never good enough. Wanting to talk about it, but you don't know how to without people thinking you're stupid or crazy. Feeling invisible. Feeling like you're in a giant fishbowl with everyone watching you drown. Crying for no reason. Wanting to cry but you can't. Feeling like you're screaming on the inside and no one can hear or see you. Most days are bad, but you have some good days too, or vice versa. Everyone can have moments of feeling depressed, but depression is something that stays around. You can't explain your feelings, and you want to be left alone because your mind is such a dark, scary place.
Wow. Some deep stuff there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But, I mean, that's the loveliness of depression. So, there was a couple that we wanted to kind of give more examples of. And again, she will be doing most of the talking. We can start with the one that I can talk about because it'll explain why I'm not talking about it. For me, I've never talked to a doctor about depression. And I don't really relate with a lot of the things that you listed.
Yeah.
But the one of where, like, some, like, people can have moments of feeling depressed, and then, you know, there are others that it's like, it's not just a moment. For me, it's a moment. I mean, it's a lot how I explain my anxiety. I have moments in life. But, like, there are some days where I'll wake up and it's not, I wouldn't really say it's that I'm depressed. I can relate to what you're describing as depression, but it's more of like, it's been a mentally exhausting week and don't ask me to use my brain. It's done. My brain is taking a break. It's more like a mental health day. Like, I just need a mental health day and then I just need to recharge and we'll be good. But I feel like the only time I've ever really been depressed is maybe like in my last relationship, which it was the relationship, it was the situation, it was all of it. I mean, when we lived in Cullowhee for an entire semester, which, by the way, people that live in, why do you want to live there? It is not a fun place, at least for me, because I don't like outdoor things. So all I did was go to class and go to our apartment. And our apartment was the size of like a master bedroom. The entire apartment was the size of a master bedroom. Our bathroom was a closet, and it had a window in it. It was weird. Also had mold. Also, if you lit a candle, the entire apartment was covered in soot. That's how small it was.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like, that's the only time that I can remember, like, feeling depressed. Like, I just didn't care about anything. Didn't want to do anything. But I can't, yeah. So, this is basically why she's talking, because I can't really relate with it, but we both still felt that this was an important conversation to have. Just because I don't relate with it doesn't mean that it's not important to talk about. Because there are some things that she's not going to relate with me, and we're going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
So, she's going to continue.
And I feel like this is one of the reasons, like, I even wanted to do these videos, is I wanted to talk about it because it's not talked about enough.
Definitely.
And when it is talked about, it's just kind of, like, brushed under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And it's brushed under the rug as one of those, like, moments. Like, oh, it's just a moment, it's just a phase. But for me, like, the reality is I've had it for, as long as I can remember, 11. I was 11. I'm 24. That's 13 years. It's not a moment. It's not a phase. It's my reality and it's my life. And, like, the biggest definition that I wrote down for me personally is I feel like I'm in a giant fishbowl with everyone watching me drown. And that's how I feel in the moments. And it's not a fun moment to be in, and it's a very deep, scary, dark moment. And I guess for me to be able to describe it to you is, I don't know if you've ever, when you're a kid, like, you go in a swimming pool and you and your friends are having fun and you're just kind of like, oh, let's see who can hold our breath under the water the longest. And you sit there and you hold your nose and you close your eyes and you go under the water. And you stay there until you can. For me, on those days, that's what I feel like. I go under the water and everything's dark and everything just kind of sounds muffled. And everyone's just watching me. And they're not helping because they don't know how. And then there's the part where I want to talk about it, but I don't know how because I can't explain my feelings. I can't explain what I'm feeling in the moment. Nor do I want to. Like, I don't want to talk about it, even though I want to talk about it. And that's also where it comes into play. Like, it's a war in your mind because you want to talk about it and you want to cry, but then you can't talk about it because you don't know how, and you can't cry because you're too tired. And it's just like, it's a constant battle with yourself. And then you start pushing everyone away because you feel like you're a burden. And in a turn, they kind of push you away because they don't know how to help you. And it's too scary for them. I lost several friends in high school because of this. They didn't know how to help me. They didn't know what was wrong with me. And a lot of them thought it was just a phase or I was acting out for attention. Which, I mean, I get. It's high school. Like, that's not a normal thing. And that's not a normal thing people have to deal with at that age.
Except it is.
I mean, it is. But when you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, no, it's not something... And it goes back to what we were talking about. Like, it's just not talked about. So no one... Especially at that age, like, you don't understand what's going on, and oftentimes I feel like puberty and, like, teenage hormones...
It just gets passed off as that.
Yes, it does. And, you know, maybe my high school experience would have looked a little differently, like we talked about in the last video, for anxiety. Like, I'm not saying my mom should put me on medication, but, like, maybe it would have looked differently if I had known what it was that I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I can understand that being really hard in high school because, I mean, even the things that I experienced, it got passed off as the same, like, you're doing it for attention. And maybe there are some people that do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's not a thing, but I don't feel like it's everyone, and I
don't feel like that's a lot of the case.
I feel like it gets generalized.
99% of the time, it actually is depression. And there may be that 1% of people who, like, pretend to be depressed for attention.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time that's because they can see the people who actually are depressed. They can see them actually getting help and people being concerned for them.
Well, and then there's also the functioning person.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, it might not look as drastic as, you know, someone sleeping all day.
Yeah. It
might not look like that. They might be functioning. They might be going to work. Well, whatever you classify as functioning. Yeah. They might be going to work. They might be getting through that day, but that doesn't mean they're not depressed.
Yeah. And even when I said, like, there are days where breathing is hard for me and getting through that day, like, that doesn't mean that that's every depression episode. That doesn't mean that's every day for me. Some days I can go to work and I can act like everything is all fine and dandy, but in reality, like, my mind is in the state of depression. But because I'm an adult, I have to go to work. Like, I have to do things. I can't just call out of work for 2 weeks because I don't feel like getting out of bed.
Yeah, they don't really accept that as an excuse.
They don't. But maybe one day they will. Who knows?
I mean, I don't know about that, just because of where we live.
That's true.
But I feel like mental health is becoming more prominent,
mm-hmm.
and people are trying to take it more seriously. And, like, I know that, like, words and people get really, like, there was, like, a sweater that said OCD or something about something. And,
obsessive Christmas disorder. And
yes.
Then somebody got, like, offended by it.
Yeah, some people are getting offended. But at this, like, I get both sides of that.
Yeah.
And some people have OCD and they take humor about it. And then there are other people that, like, that's offending to them. And I feel like you kind of just have to, like, gauge your audience
mm-hmm.
in a way. I know someone I'm close to has OCD, and she talks about how people, you know, say that they're obsessed about something. And she's like, you're really not. But she doesn't get, like, upset about it. But, like, after she said that, it clicked with me. And, like, I try to be a little more conscious of, like, what I say I'm obsessed with. Because mm-hmm. I'm not obsessed with anything. So I'm just a really, really, really big fan of Stitch. So, and margaritas and tacos. But, like, I feel like it's getting there. It's not there yet by any means, but it has improved over the years for sure.
I guess we can talk about how, like, people react to it, which, I mean, I kind of touched on, like, when I was in high school, people didn't react to it the way that I needed them to, which is fine. I mean, at the time I didn't understand it and I got upset or whatever and I got mad and then I just kind of wrote them off. But also I was
hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
All the time.
But also I feel like I just pushed them away because I felt like I was being a burden. I was just...
Yeah.
But...
Even in my moments of whatever we're going to call it, that's something I can relate to. Like, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to be... For one, I don't want to be the crazy person because I can promise you it does not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times I've had a conversation where I'm like, look, there's a part of me that feels this way, and then there's another part of me that's rational, and it's just like, would you chill? But the part of me that is really upset is going to say something and not listen to the other part.
Yeah.
That's just how we are.
And we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff later on as well, but how parents react to it is they don't understand it a lot of the times unless they've dealt with it. In my case, my parents did not understand it, and that was hard for me at the time. I get it now because I am an adult now and I get it. And they were scared, but they did say some things to me that made it worse. And I know they didn't mean to make it worse or whatever. They just didn't know how to handle it, and they were scared. I'm their oldest daughter. Like, they had never had to deal with this before. And I feel like kind of jealous of my sisters, but now because I've dealt with that, when my sisters maybe show some signs, they get more concerned because now they know how to approach it. And I feel like I was the guinea pig in a lot of things growing up, but this one was not
as older siblings kind of end up.
Yeah, but this one was not a fun one for me to be the guinea pig.
No, I prefer to be the guinea pig of spoiling.
Yes.
That's my favorite part.
Exactly.
Even though I'm 25. It still happens. I still enjoy it.
But yeah, I feel like just how people react to it can be almost kind of triggering, I guess. I know we said that there's not really a trigger for it.
There is and there isn't. That was kind of the whole point of that. I mean, there are triggers, but I don't feel like it's the same as anxiety or PTSD or something like that. But yeah, how people react to it. And like I said, I feel like it's getting better. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like talking about it is what's going to keep improving it. I mean, I didn't really have depression, so that's not what me and my parents had issues over. More so teenage rebellion. Don't tell your kids not to do something. We're just going to do it. And we're just going to try harder to do it. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. And, my mom finally learned that over the years. It's gotten way better. I don't rebel half as often. But, I feel like parents are getting there. Also, us generation that, is talking about it now, we're going to be parents, or in my case, all of my friends are already parents. Mm-hmm. Seriously, multiple kids. And I'm just like, I got a dog. Does that count? Counts for me when I have to get up early and give her a bath because she's done something that's gross. We're not going to go into detail on that. But, yeah. I think our generation talking about it is going to significantly improve the future generation's way of dealing with things.
Sin is a big one that we talked about before this. Yes. Just because I didn't have the greatest, my body didn't have the greatest reaction to the medicine. That's not to say that you taking medicine is wrong or bad for you or whatever. This is just my personal experience with it.
Nor is this an excuse to come off of whatever is working for you.
Yeah, don't do what I did.
In some aspects you were right.
Yeah.
Maybe not the first one.
The first one, no. That I do regret because that was the medicine that helped me the most.
But that's where, when we were talking about this, other life factors are always going to come into play. You can never take someone's story and directly apply it to you because you didn't go through the same experiences. So for her, when we talked about this, you said that you came off of it, but there was other factors going on in your life that kind of led to that decision too. So this is this area where we put a filter on it. And you are not to take this and apply it to your life. Do not do that. But you can take certain parts and filter it through yourself, if that makes sense. I don't really know, but
yeah, if it's helpful for you, whatever, then do that. So when I first got on medicine, I was 17, and I went to the doctor. My parents were very concerned about me, and they put me on medicine. I couldn't tell you what it was. I couldn't tell you how much of it I was taking, but I do know that I was taking something. And I'll get on to later on in the series, we're going to do videos talking about our stories and our individual stories and whatever.
Yeah, fun times to come.
So I'm not going to go into detail about everything. But there was a moment I was on medicine and I was 17 and I was taking it. I think I was taking it for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And it helped. It helped a lot. I was able to get out of bed when I was feeling depressed. It didn't make depression go away, but it made it go away enough to where I could...
Made it manageable.
manage it, and I could feel a little bit of happiness, which is a big win for me because at that age I was not happy at all. And then I came off of it because I was doing so well in the medicine. I felt like, oh, I'm doing so great now, I don't need it anymore. And I weaned myself off of it. And then I was doing really good for a while. And then some things happened and brought back the feeling of depression that I had always kind of dealt with. But when I was on the medicine, it just made it extremely manageable. And because the medicine stayed in my system for a long time, because I took it for 2 years, it stayed in my system, I guess, until I needed to take it again. So I went to a different doctor and they put me on a different medicine, and that one I didn't like. I didn't like it, so I didn't take it. I took it for 2 months. Didn't like it. And then I started going to a therapist, talked to her about what I was dealing with, and she thought I needed to go back on some medicine. So we got put on another medicine. I couldn't tell you what these medicines are called, and that is just the harsh reality of what this medicine did to me. It is one of the side effects where you can forget things. You can have moments where you just space out. And that's what this last medicine did to me, and it's something I'm going to have to live with. It is getting better, but you can eat, like, my husband will vouch for me on this. Like, he hated me on that medicine. Like, hated it. Because when I took the medicine, it kind of made me into a zombie, where I couldn't feel any emotion. I was just kind of there. It sucked. It made my depression worse. It made my suicidal thoughts get so bad that I had to tell my husband, please hide my razor. Like, he had to hide it, and whenever I needed to shave, he would go get it for me, and then he would sit in the bathroom with me while I shaved my legs.
I mean, that's a pretty... That's a messed up moment.
It is.
But I think it was good that you had that person that you could do that with. Like, you felt comfortable enough to have him know that that's where you were at.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a good thing if you are going to go the medicine route to have, like, an accountability partner almost.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I did anxiety medicine, I did have a couple just because I wanted someone there to check me. I mean, these medicines are dangerous. They are.
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel that they have a purpose, and if they help, that's amazing. But if you are venturing into that route and you haven't done it yet, be mindful of how you're feeling, what you're doing, because I feel like you were proactive in that, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everyone has a person that they can do that with. Not everyone is aware. So I feel like if you are going to go that route, it is a good thing to have a person that you can talk to, that you're not going to feel judgment of having those thoughts, because here's the thing, not all of these thoughts are yours.
Yeah, exactly.
They're this chemical in you that's going to help in some ways, but in other ways it might not be the right medicine for you, and there are going to be side effects. So I feel like that it was really good that you were that open about it, because not everyone would have.
But I had years of experience. Like,
yes.
Had this been my first go around with medicine, I don't know if I would have said anything.
I don't know. I feel like you and Kenneth have that kind of relationship that you would have.
Yeah, but that's Kenneth.
But here's the thing.
He's my person. If it was with anybody else, and if it was my first go around with medicine, I don't think I would have said anything.
Well, and that's, for me, I believe there's a purpose to everything.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure.
So I feel like for you to have had that bad of an experience with medicine, I think the timing was where it was supposed to be.
And then they also put me, because I went to the doctor and told her what the medicine was doing, she decreased the amount that I was taking. And even still, that wasn't cutting it. So my therapist recommended me to go see another doctor that specifically works with, like, putting you on medication for your mental illness. I can't think of the name at the moment. But yeah, so they just put me on a different more medicine. So I was taking the depression medicine, but then she also put me on, basically it was like the generic version of Xanax, just to, like, help me cope with the other medicine.
Yeah.
And that's what they do sometimes, is they layer you on these medicines. And for me, it just made it worse. Like, I can vividly remember I was on a beach trip with my husband and my friend and her boyfriend. We were all there and we were all supposed to have a good time. I just had this, like, we called these generic versions of Xanax, we called them my 911 pills. Because she told me to take them when it was a 911 emergency, when I needed something to help me get through.
I feel like that's a bad thing to call that, but okay.
But that's what we called it. So I needed to take one of my 911 pills. So I took it, and then it knocked me out for 3 days straight. And that was half of the pill.
So 911 emergency there.
Yeah. So I just slept for 3 days straight. I missed the entire beach vacation. I really don't know what happened that trip, other than my husband went fishing and my friend laid out on the beach.
I'm trying to picture Kayla fishing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only met him like one time, but it's enough that this is an odd combination.
Yes, it is. So that's what happened, I guess. But yeah, so needless to say, my husband and I talked, and he was just like, "You can't. This is not it. Like, we have to like deal with this a different route." But that's just my story. Like I said, this is not how it is with every case. I do know people that are on medication for mental illnesses, especially depression, and it works for them. And that's good. That's great. I'm glad it works for them. It does not work for me. So I don't think I'll ever go back on medication for depression just because of how bad it was and how I still have to cope with the side effects from the medicine. Like, I have what's called brain zaps, where my brain actually feels like it's being zapped. They told me that this was a side effect, and I did not know what that meant until it happened to me last year.
You know, this is the one part where, like, I have to have a moment with doctors, because I've had so many arguments with doctors, and they're like, the side effects are minimal. I'm like, aren't they though?
They're not. Not when it comes to medicine.
I seem to be that special person that, like, gets those weird ones. Like, I remember being on Singulair, which is a medicine for allergies and asthma, in high school, and I had to do the child's dose, because the adult dose, which was only like double the child's dose, it like made me lightheaded and dizzy, and they were just like, I mean, it's not like likely, but like it's possible. I'm like, well, like, I'm clearly having some issues, so we're gonna need to pump that down. And we did, and it was fine, but like, now I'm kind of afraid to read the symptom list, because I don't know what's like me making it into a symptom, because I do realize that I'm that person that gets the symptoms. I don't know. But with that kind of medicine, I feel like you should read the list. Yes. You really should.
And talk to your doctor about everything, which is something I didn't do.
Well, and also, if your doctor's not listening to you, go find a new one.
Yeah.
Go find a new one.
That too. And also, you know your body.
Like, yeah, when I went on anxiety medicine, I explained my like feelings and issues and all of this to a doctor that I went to go see for my physical, and she was like, it just sounds like sleeping problems. Maybe you just need to have a sleeping routine. I'm like, I've had sleeping problems since I was 15. That's not the problem. Because that's always been an issue. So for this to like spike now, I don't think that makes sense. So I made an appointment with a different doctor, because I was like, you're clearly not listening to me. So we're going to go over here. And I explained it to her, and she was like, sounds like anxiety. Sounds a little situational, because I was in grad school and then there was a wedding. She was like, but for right now, to get you through this, let's try this. And she, you know, as I talked about before, like really wanted to keep up and have checkups. And I feel like you find that doctor. And until you find that doctor, you keep looking.
Yeah.
Like, you be safe about it, but do what's going to work for you. And do not do what's not working. I know that sounds simple, but yet we all do things that don't work for us.
I think that's it
for this one.
Because I don't want to get too deep in it.
Yeah, a lot of the deeper stuff kind of goes with our other topics. So anything you think that we missed, we're probably going to talk about later.
Yep.
But yeah, we should have a video next week. Again, we have a schedule, but like we don't have a schedule. It's kind of organized. It's kind of not organized. This is just how this goes with us.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, like you said at the beginning, like everything that we're talking about is not necessarily something that's organized.
No.
And it's not wrapped pretty in a bow.
Well, and they all overlap. So it's been interesting to try and organize this even slightly.
Mhm.
Like, it might not seem organized at all to you, but, like, it kind of is for us.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if there's something that you guys want us to talk about, we do obviously plan on doing more of these videos.
Mhm.
So feel free to drop it in the comment or message one of us. We've put in our contact info and we've put in some resources just in case you need them.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. That way you won't miss the next video. I mean, obviously I'm going to share it, but like, you know, you could still miss it. You never know. But yeah, bye guys.
Bye. See you next week.